Hello and welcome to R&R's Ask the Expert. I'm Kayla McGowan, editor-in-chief, and for the month of April, we are covering the Women in Restoration. We usually award the Women in Restoration Award winner this month, but we're moving it to the fall of this year at the Experience. So we thought it would be really cool to highlight the lovely ladies of the industry throughout the month of April on every single Wednesday. So for the next 5 weeks, we're going to highlight some of the leading ladies in our industry. If you haven't guessed it, I'm going to start with the person who's in the field every single day. She's on the environmental side. My special guest is Megan Hughes. She's the branch manager of Farwest Environmental in Salt Lake City, Utah. She's an experienced environmental professional with nearly a decade in our industry. She is IICRC certified. She's a certified asbestos building inspector, lead inspector, and asbestos abatement supervisor. Welcome, Megan.
Hi, thank you, Kayla, and thank you guys for having me today. I'm super excited to be able to do this.
Yes, I'm so excited. I've been watching you for quite some time now. You're so passionate about this industry. And, we've been working on some other things in the background. I'll have you back on for mold eventually. But I really just wanted to focus on you. Who is Megan? What has she done for herself in this industry? Why does she love this industry? And what you can share for women who are looking to get into our field. So, first things first, how did you get into our industry and what drew you to this industry? We're not like usually just drawn to the industry by chance, right? It's usually somebody or whatever the case may be. So
Sure.
how did you find us?
Okay, so I actually get asked this question quite a lot. Like, how did you get into this industry? Especially when people hear about the fact that mold is my passion as far as all the service lines that I've been involved in and offer. They're like, how did you get into mold? Like such a niche. Well, I literally fell into this industry. So I started in early 2018. I was running a prosthetic clinic before getting into the restoration industry, and I was kind of looking for a change. There was not anything that necessarily drew me to the industry until I already had the opportunity to interview. So I actually had my interview in January in Montana, and I was going to my interview that day, and it was after a bad snowstorm. And I literally, my car across the street from the restoration company parking lot, it actually slid into a ditch. So I literally fell into this industry. They were hiring for an office manager position at the time, and I started and I just fell in love with it so fast, to the point where within the first year on the administration side of the industry, I was already a certified technician. So,
And that's all she wrote, right? I think it's really cool to
yes,
hear that. Literally fell into the industry. It's
literally, yeah.
That's one I haven't heard that. So, hey, maybe it's just a special thing for you and your journey, but that's really cool to kind of
Sure.
look at where you've come now from that very beginning where you were just looking for a change and now you found something that is actually near and dear to your heart. I feel like it's part of your life, which is so cool. Because I see it every day when you're talking about the industry and like asking questions and things like that. It's just really cool to see how passionate you are about what you do every single day. So, you've been in the industry for almost a decade now, and you started as an office manager. How has your career and role really evolved over the last, almost 10 years?
Wow. Honestly, it has evolved immensely. So, like I said, I started off with an office manager position for the full service restoration company that did everything from carpet cleaning, flood, mold, fire, all the way to HVAC cleaning. Within the first year of being involved with that company, the owner that I worked for also had an environmental company called Mold Inspection Services. So I quickly went from just a regular old office manager to a business manager running both companies, the full service restoration company and the environmental company side by side for 7 years. I quickly adapted to the environmental piece of it because I love the fact that it's very hard to understand and it's easy for me and it impacts people's health. So I went from, like I said, the administration side to quickly being a WRT and AMRT certified technician, to running jobs, to then when I wanted to, about 2 years ago, I wanted to get into a bigger market to make more of an impact on people's health regarding indoor air quality issues. And I knew I couldn't do that in a small Montana rural market. I was pretty capped out there. So I went on LinkedIn, basically made myself a free agent looking for work. And I had a multitude of amazing interviews and opportunities that were offered to me in multiple states throughout the United States. And I ended up choosing this one here in Utah, running Farwest Environmental.
Well, I think it's a really good fit for you. And honestly, I
Yeah.
don't know what's next for you, but regardless, you're going to be great at what you do. I just, hearing your journey and what you've accomplished just based on what your interests are, but also the way that we care for our customers, right? At the end of the day, it's about keeping people in a healthy, safe environment, regardless of the situation that they're put in. And so to kind of hear that you fell in love with the environmental side is really cool, honestly, because then everything has to be done right, right? It's not like you can just walk
Yes.
away and, clean your hands. It's a bigger picture thing. Building science is so critical to what we do every single day. And consumers have no idea how much of an impact their home or their business that they're in every single day really does affect their health. And I think you're probably the coolest person to come and talk to them about that, right? So what makes the restoration industry so meaningful to you, and why are you so passionate about the work that you do and just our industry as a whole? I mean, you started as a business manager, and then you kind of worked your way up into certification and running jobs, and I mean, literally jack of all trades here, if we're being honest. So, what does it really mean to you, to be in this industry?
A lot. It means a lot of things. One of the quotes that I've always told people about this industry that's been very meaningful to me is the fact that I didn't even go to medical school, but if you are being harmed by your indoor air quality, I can help you feel better with what I know and the right things. A few quotes I do live by in this industry: as lucrative as this industry is, it's not about the income for me, it's about the outcome.
Hmm.
It's about the impact that we can make on people's lives. I really pride myself on being one of the environmental inspectors that really educate and empower homeowners to help themselves, even if it hurts a sale for me, because at the end of the day, I don't want them to call me in and spend unnecessary money if it's something that I feel like they can tackle themselves. That way they will remember me the next time that they really need me.
Well, I would say too, to your point, like money comes and goes, right? In every role and every job that you
Yeah,
play. But the human
yeah,
connection, I think, is so valuable and important, especially with all of the technology and all the things we have. Just to take a second and humanize what we do is so important. And if people are able to be walked through, like, hey, maybe it's changing something that you're doing in your home, or maybe when's the last time you changed your air filter, or when's the last time you had your HVAC taken care of? Those are the things that give them a peace of mind, and they're like, okay, this is doable. It's not as scary as I think. And then when they do have a major problem, they can call you, right? They've already
yeah.
built that rapport and that trust. And so I really appreciate you saying that it's not about the income, it's about the outcome for our consumers, because at the end of the day, we're in a service-based industry, right? Yes, there's money
Yes.
to be made, but we're serving our communities, right?
Yes. I would totally rather be a resource rather than a sales pitch.
And honestly, a resource turns into a sale on its
It
own. You
does.
don't have to pitch anything at the end of the day. And really, we are essential and it'll come eventually. It just, why not build that human connection first and build that trust, and be the resource to your consumers so that when something serious does happen, you're the first one they call, right? And it's natural. You don't have to worry about, do I have to go call them and ask them if they need my help? They're just going to reach out to you. So, from your experience in a small Montana market, which I'm sure people know that it is very small there, what
So
makes the
small.
restoration industry a great place for women? And now that you're in Salt Lake City, I know it's amplified, but what does that look like for you as a woman? And what do you hope it turns into for the women who are coming into our industry?
Well, certainly on the in regards to coming from a smaller market like Montana, I say one of the things that really stands out, especially in rural markets, is how relationship driven our industry is, and I think that's really where women can shine. In smaller communities, people aren't just hiring a company; they're trusting a person. They want someone who communicates well, who's honest, and who listens to their concerns. And sorry, gentlemen, but women are usually better at that, statistically. We are. I believe in the inherent nature of women biologically, especially when I go into homes that have environmental concerns. Somebody believes that they have mold because their kid has been sick or they've been sick. I am more likely to listen to the woman because biologically, when we were like cave people years and light years ago, we had the babies on our chest and we had the papooses and we could smell the danger from afar. And that's just inherently biologically who we are as women. And so I do trust the instinctual aspect of the woman of the household more than the gentleman.
Well, I would say too, most of the time it's women who are calling because I feel like we're all motherly, regardless of having children or not. You're automatically gonna say like, you know what, I did notice there was a leak under the sink, or you know what, it does smell musty. And like you're gonna
Sure,
tell your husband or boyfriend or your kids or whoever that, am I crazy? And it's like, it's fine. Like you're fine. There's nothing going
sure,
on, And then the woman's gonna be like, no, I'm just gonna call, like
sure,
I'm just gonna call and I'm gonna say, hey, I think there's a problem that I have. Can you come check it out? Essentially, is kind of, and then you learn, hey, I'm not crazy, right? After you have that conversation with the mom, the wife, the sister, the grandma, whoever, you've brought them to peace of mind, and now they're going to say, you know what? We're going to get it fixed because it was that easy to talk about that and just tackle it. Whereas your husband, your wife, your aunt, uncle, whoever, you're going to tell them and they're going to be like, it's not that serious, you know?
sure, sure. Validation is huge. Now, I pride myself on my specialty truly being within the mold world, the sensitized community, the ones that have been looking for validation for what feels like years, if not lifetimes, for them. So at the end of the day, I can say one thing that a rural small market in Montana has taught me as far as mold inspections and things like that go, where I have done so many where the husband, he's the provider, he works out on the field, they have a farm or something like that. The solution of pollution is dilution. And the wife is inside the home environment all day long, homeschooling her children and being in that environment all day long. So it's easy for him to say, hey, if I'm not feeling it, then it ain't real.
Mhm.
Well, you're outside all day. You're not in the living in conditions in the environment, never getting outside. So being able to really validate people, man, it feels good. Feels real good.
Well, I would say too, I think most times when you get involved too on the environmental side, people automatically feel crazy at that point, right? Like
Sure.
they really feel like, how come I don't understand why I'm getting sick or why my kids are getting sick or my spouse is getting sick or hey, we just moved my grandmother in here and now she's getting sick, but none of us feel sick. It's like a huge mind game, right? And so to when you get in there, you're the peace of mind and you're able to say like, hey, actually, let's check it out and see what's going on. And they could have some serious problems that they didn't know about. They can have
Sure.
some mild problems, or maybe it's just in one area of the home. Maybe it was something that was brought in. But I think to your point, for people who aren't in the home all day long, it it doesn't seem like it's a problem. But for the person who's in the home all day, and maybe they're not affected, but their kid is, it's like, well, something's going on, obviously, if somebody is sick. It's not coming from just outside, at that point. And most of the times, I think I've seen some statistics that really tell us, how often we're really getting home sick from our home. It's actually kind of scary if we think about it. Um, and so it's interesting to kind of think when people feel sick, it's a serious situation. It's not you caught a cold and you just catch a cold every month. I think I've heard that quite a few times where people's kids are getting sick consistently and they're like, oh, they just brought another cold home from school.
Yeah. No, no, I hear that all the time, all the time. And of course, whenever anybody says that around me within earshot, I'm just like, do you have any HEPA air cleaners running in your home? Have you had any recent water leaks or any past water leaks that were unattended? Of course, my mind always goes to mold to the point where even like in my inner circle around me, like my kids are like, Mom, it's not always mold. But we always have to check that off the list because it's hard to imagine something that's invisible or something you just don't know. And what most people don't realize is statistically, within the human population, 25% of people around the whole entire world, 1 in 4 people, statistically cannot detox mold like you and I can.
Yeah. That's a scary stat.
It
That's a
is. It's
very
a
scary
lot. That's
stat.
a lot of percentage.
It is, and gosh, that's scary to think about it, but it is that serious, right? And I think, it's funny to hear how your kids are, right? We're like, it's
Yeah.
automatically, right? They're like, Mom, relax, which I think our kids try and humble us every once in a while, but it's cool that they're aware because they have so much more knowledge than the average person right now. And so later down the road, if they do face something like this, they know who to call, Mom, of course, right?
Yep.
So with that being said, you know, you have built such a beautiful career path for yourself. And if
Thank
you
you.
could talk to women in the industry or those who are considering coming in the industry, what advice would you share with other women who, are kind of dabbling in the industry or want to be in the industry, especially if they're going into a smaller market? Because I think it can be a little scary, if you will, especially if you like there's no women in the office or only one. What advice would you share with them to make their own way in this industry?
Sure, good question. So the first thing I'd say is don't let the industry intimidate you. Just the fact that it has historically always been male dominated, use that to your advantage and make your name. Even if you're the first and only woman in your market, you will stand out. There's a lot of opportunity in this industry, and we are recession proof. Mother Nature will always happen, losses will always happen, and there will always be a need for us. And focus on the fact that you're in it for the right reasons and you have a skill set just being a woman alone with probably prone to attention to detail that most men coming into the industry don't have.
Yeah, and I would definitely say you mentioned our strengths, right? Like we have strengths, men have strengths in this industry, and that's what makes it a place for both of us to come together and work together and play off of each other's strengths, right? Because where we're strong, men aren't necessarily the strongest there, right? And where
Right.
they're really strong, we may lack somewhere. But I will definitely say in this industry, you can make your career whatever you want it to be. I think that's one of the most beautiful things in this space, right? Like you've done a great job at making a career for yourself, but I know you're not done. So, for you, it's just another chapter in your book, right? You still have so much more to do and accomplish. And so, for all of the people, not just women listening to this podcast, look at Megan and what she's done for herself, and anything is possible if you put your mind to it, right? Like I definitely think that you grabbed the bull by the horns. You were like, I'm gonna do what I want to do, and you found such success, and you are making a difference. I know you're influencing people around you, both men and women, even the younger generation and the older generation. You've done a phenomenal job. So thank you for all that you do. We're so happy and proud to have you in our industry. And for all of you watching, we will see you on the next episode of Ask the Expert. Take care.